My name is Kristie Nelson, and my son Nathan is now 17. He developed pretty quickly as a baby, and then he received over the next 10 years a dual diagnosis of bipolar disorder and autism. By the time he was 14, he was causing a lot of damage to the house, to us, himself, and it was very scary. I know firsthand what it's like to sit on a floor in a heap and think I can't do this anymore. And being afraid for your child who's struggling and feels like hurting himself or others. The fears of mom, realizing I'm not enough for my son. The final straw was when Nathan came after his brother Hunter with a bat, and I have no doubt that he was planning to use it. So I grabbed Hunter and we went into the house. I locked the doors and I called the police. They determined that we would go to Legacy Hospital. As we sat there in the hospital making phone calls, looking things up, Albertina Kerr came up. And I have to say that when I sat for the first time around the table with the team, Nathan's team, I broke down in tears because I thought, we finally have a team between Dr. Collins, his psychiatrist, Holly Bromland, his group home manager, who's fabulous, his counselor who'd come out once a week. All these things were put in place. He was finally going to school again. He was able to work on his social skills. He was in a safe place. He was in a safe place where this could happen. And all those things that we knew were possible, we were finding at Albertina Kerr.
Albertina Kerr has been such a help to our whole family, not just to me.
Now we can honestly sit back and say our future is bright. Nathan loves school. Nathan plans to go to college. And it's not just about him and what am I going to get out of life, it's how am I going to help other people. And I truly believe Albertina Kerr for us was a matter of life and death. And I feel like we have our life back. And I feel like our family is whole because we were given a chance. We had a team of people behind us to make that happen.
And I think you got a little taste of Kristie Martin, who is Nathan's mom. Nelson, I'm sorry, Martin. Kristie Nelson, who is Nathan's mom. And we want her to come up and to share her story more in depth with you. And we are so glad you're here, and thank you for being and sharing your story.
Good afternoon. For all that Albertina Kerr has done for our son and our family, I am honored and privileged to be here. I've already started. This is going to be like, I came prepared. Actually, it was really sweet. When I was invited to speak, Christine and I were doing some back and forth, and she said, you get 5 minutes to talk. And I thought, this is 17 years of a story. How am I supposed to do this? So, and I told her that. I said, how am I supposed to? She sent me a text and said, yay, you get 10. I said, okay, I'll be done in 15. So I'll do my best to be done. But I actually want to leave a couple of minutes for Nathan because he would also like to share a little bit with you and his experiences. So as was said, I'm Kristie Nelson. I'm sure Martin would be a lovely name too, but happens to be Nelson, and also known as Nathan's mom. Not Nielsen either, thanks honey. My husband Jesse and our younger son Hunter were unable to be here today, but grandparents Terry, Karen, Ron, and Jan are all here in their stead. They too have most certainly been part of this long, arduous journey, and we are grateful for them and their support. Nathaniel Jesse was born on July 27, 2000 at 4:09 a.m. He was an answer to prayer, and we were more than ecstatic. When that 6 pounds, 3 ounce bundle was placed in our arms, we did what any anxious, excited parents would do. We unwrapped him and started our inspection, counting fingers and toes, making sure everything was where it was supposed to be. He was perfect. As he grew, he did everything he was supposed to and right on time, if not ahead of schedule, because he was a genius after all. What we didn't know as we counted fingers and toes that first day
was that Nathan's brain would develop just a little differently than the average person's. Raising any challenge is a grand adventure. With Nathan, it would be epic, an odyssey full of peaks and valleys, angels and monsters, pain and joy. All the makings of an epic tale. By age 4, Nathan was given the diagnosis of autism. At 7, he was given diagnoses of depression, ADHD, oppositional defiance disorder, and ultimately bipolar disorder. This made for the most unique recipe for development. And once hormones were thrown into the mix, what was difficult became near impossible for any of us to handle. My once bright-eyed, inquisitive boy became dark, fearful, and angry. For the better part of 15 years, our family worked hard to piece treatments and supports together to help Nathan as he grew. I can't read. We have boxes full of therapist notes and doctor's notes and medications that we tried. Occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, behavior therapy, autism specialists, psychiatrists, and counseling, just to name a few. And that's just the medical side of things. School and other social gatherings were a whole nother set of hoops. Nathan was hospitalized for 2 weeks in the Seattle Children's Hospital psychiatric unit. In the summer, he turned 8. At 11, he spent a month in a facility by another local program that proved to be anything but helpful. At 14, we tried a boarding school for challenging teens, only to have them call a week later to let us know they would not be able to help him. That seemed to be the running theme wherever we went and whatever we tried. There was no comprehensive treatment, no coordination amongst any of the providers, regardless of what we tried. In the meantime, when we weren't in an office, Nathan was wreaking havoc at home on us and on himself. And it only got worse when we left Indiana and moved to the little town of Ellensburg, smack dab in the middle of Washington State with no real treatment options nearby. When we applied for support through developmental disabilities, we were told they couldn't do anything because of his mental health diagnosis. When I talked to mental health, they said they couldn't help because of his autism diagnosis. In the meantime, Nathan wasn't comfortable in his own skin, let alone the world around him. To him, expectations to fill into society's molds in which he didn't fit were unbearable. His confusion and misunderstanding resulted in regular meltdowns and abusive outbursts. His brother Hunter and I took the brunt of it, though no one was truly immune. Holes in walls, doors pulled off their hinges, and broken glass were daily occurrences, usually in tandem with scratching, punching, kicking, along with swearing and yelling. Mood swings were difficult and exhausting to try to keep up with. He was like a cornered animal with no flight option, and so was ready to fight. It's going to be a little redundant. I forgot what I'd said in the video, but in the summer of 2015, and after years of living at a battlefield, tensions finally came to a head when something set Nathan off one day, and he tore after Hunter wielding a baseball bat. They were 14 and 11, respectively. I reached Hunter first and shoved him into the house, locking the door behind us. While I called 911, Nathan made his way to the back of the house and took the bat to the AC unit, pummeling it till it no longer worked. When the police arrived, Nathan calmed down. The officer spoke with me to find out if I wanted to press charges, but they said they had no place to take him, and thus he would be released back into our custody. Once again, we had no real help. Something had to change. What we'd been doing clearly wasn't working and hadn't for a long time, and they were only getting worse. But we were out of ideas. It was time to try something out of the box. Nathan had never fit into anyone's box anyway, so we decided to try something that made no rational sense. Jesse had to work, so he and Hunter would stay in Ellensburg while Nathan and I moved to Sacramento, California. Because why not? I had extended family nearby, and there was an autism center we were hoping could help. So we packed the minivan and headed south, and made it as far as Vancouver, where we stopped to see family. One evening, Nathan became combative, and after assaulting his grandfather and damaging the house, we once again called the police. This time, they helped us get him to the hospital. We spent 3 days in the ER trying to figure out our next move. After hours of internet searching and countless phone calls, we found Albertina Kerr. Nathan was admitted to Kerr's subacute facility for 3 months. We take some pride in knowing we were the longest. I don't know if we're still the longest you got to stay there. You got to find pride where you can. Woo for us. Okay. But they were willing to do what they needed to do to help us, so there was that.
I'd rather be there feeling that way than be at school feeling that way.
Yeah. He said he'd rather be there feeling that way instead of at school feeling that way. I lost my spot. Okay. In the meantime, I set up residency nearby. Shortly after our intake, I met with a room full of people who had come together to meet us. I remember Chelsea introducing everyone and saying, "We are Team Nathan." And for the first time in a really long time, we felt hope. The team worked diligently to set up a support net while he was at subacute. It was determined by Nathan's psychiatrist for everyone's safety Nathan should not return home. That said, he could no longer stay in subacute, but the group home wouldn't be ready for about 3 weeks. During those weeks, Nathan and I holed up in an apartment I was renting, and boy, do I have stories about that, but we just don't have time. And they're awesome.
I thought that it started out with me in subacute, and then I came to the apartment, and then I went back to subacute.
Could have been. I don't know. But anyway. See, I should have just had this all ready to go. The team worked diligently to set up a support net while he was at subacute. It was determined, okay, I said that. During that time, Nathan's team was always available to us. Someone called every day, and others came to the apartment most days. A new part of the team was now engaged in preparing Nathan to enter one of Albertina Kerr's group homes. The transition was as fluid as we could have possibly hoped for. Those were very long, painful weeks. But the day came, and the group home staff was waiting for us. Watching my son come to the realization that he would be staying in this house with other boys in similar situations and not coming home with us was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But thus far, Nathan's team at Kerr had proven to be truly invested in helping Nathan and our family to be successful. So we drove away that day, tears streaming down our faces, and prayed that we had done the right thing. Then began the next task, reuniting the rest of the family and moving to Oregon to be closer to Nathan for regular visits and to be part of his treatment. It took some time, but Nathan adjusted and settled into his new routine. He began attending school regularly while also continuing to meet with doctors and behavior specialists who were able to tweak medications, teach essential social skills, and modify behavior in a safe, predictable environment. It would be dishonest for me to say it was smooth sailing from there on out. It took 2.5 years of hard, consistent work for Nathan to be ready to transition home. There was pain, heartache, and tears, but it's only made the results that much sweeter. My bright-eyed boy is back, with a smile that warms the hearts of all those with whom he engages. That's him. That's the real Nathan. That's the Nathan we were fighting for. And he's come home. We continue to be amazed at the resilience of this remarkable young man. He truly is the epitome of strength and courage. Our story is far from over, and though the level of involvement has changed, we have no doubt that Albertina Kerr services will always be part of our family's safety net. We could not be more grateful for the help and hope they've given us. It is our sincerest prayer that others who find themselves at the end of a very short rope will also be able to access these programs. Nathan's team has been with us from the beginning, for which we will forever be grateful. A team made up of staff, family, and Nathan himself. And guess what? Team Nathan won. I am so grateful for the opportunity to be Nathan's mother. He has taught us so much. And we're grateful for what we've found with Albertina Kerr, because I'm not sure that our family would be where we're at without it. Now I'd like to introduce my sweet boy, my hero, Nathan Nelson, to give his thoughts.
The first thing I want to say is those rough times that Mom was talking about when back around the time of subacute. I don't think any of you can fully imagine what it was like to be me at that time. It was in every aspect a living nightmare. And I'm the kid who dreams every single night. But that experience was no nightmare. It was 100% real, and it was just so hard to even want to be alive during that time. And I knew inside that I didn't want to be that way, but something still wasn't quite right about the way I was thinking about things, and it just was an awful experience. It was just so. I was in so much pain, and I felt like I had done it, and that it was all my doing, and a lot of it was my doing, and I felt I felt so ashamed of myself for that it actually made me feel even worse, because I was dwelling on how bad I feel for doing this, and that I didn't want to be that way. And I for most of my for most of sixth grade and eighth grade, I couldn't even go to school. Okay.
He's his mother's son.
Yeah.
Talk all day.
Especially at the dinner table. Come on, give Hunter a chance to speak. Well, there were times I trusted my parents that it was the right decision, but I didn't always trust the people I was surrounded by, because it was hard. There were a few people at Overlook who I really didn't get along with, and oh, right, sorry.
You got along with more people.
Albertina Kerr has taught me so many different skills. It's teaching me life skills, like being able to help around the house and clean my room, and it's taught me to not always. It taught me to take a step back and realize what's really happening, and it taught me to take space when I was angry, and it totally changed my life, and my family and I could all see major improvements on how I was interacting with my family and how I was treating them, and I was just so proud of myself, and it was just the most unbelievable experience.
Kristie, could you please come back up here? I know it. You ran off quick. So on behalf of everybody at Albertina Kerr, we'd not only like you to thank you for sharing your story, but you really deserve no thanks to Albertina Kerr. This is why Kerr is here, and it's really, we should be thanking you that you gave us the opportunity to help you and your family. So thank you very much.
Hey, Nathan, we get to take home an award. He was wondering about his awards, so we get one.
Everyone gets their share.
Exactly. So my name is Dave Manoogian. I've been associated with Albertina Kerr for 10 years. And first of all, to all the people at Kerr, thanks for having me follow this part on the agenda. It was master planning there. That was a nice setup, Jeff. Anyway, thank you again for sharing your story, and thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me come up and say something.
My pleasure. I would have never given you the hook off the stage like your mom. I'd have let you just gone and gone. You were fantastic, right?
Stay dry. Goodbye.